All right. Well, let's get started. Welcome everyone to, I believe, the fifth PowerPoint webinar that we've held. I think our first one was in October, and then we did one in November, December, January. Yeah, February. This is the fifth one going. One of my goals this year is to make sure that we are on top of it, to stay on track for doing one live webinar every single month on top of all the videos, the questions that we're answering on Reddit, and all the comments that we get on Facebook and YouTube. You can consistently find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Even got, short videos on TikTok now. So that's what I've been told, is to get our word out there. So I'm really, really excited. Well, today, tomorrow being Valentine's Day, I figure today is the best time to really talk about pain, especially chronic pain, and how it affects intimacy. Now, the first page I want to go over is a disclaimer page. Well, before we go to the disclaimer page, let me tell you who I am. My name is Dr. Alex Tam, and I'm a chiropractor out of Vacaville, California. Now, my studies is that I've been a graduate of UC Davis, study exercise biology at UC Davis. I've been a clinical director at Absolute Integrative Physical Medicine for the last 15 years. This is our 15th year. May 27th, 2024 will be 15th year in practice. Treated over 10,000 patients, probably closer to 15 to 20,000 patients by now. And our mission is to help patients with chronic pain get their life back without harmful drugs or unnecessary surgery, right? So that's a key thing. Now, here is the disclaimer. The content of this presentation is solely for providing information and should not be considered a substitute for professional medical guidance, diagnostics, or treatment. It is essential to always seek advice from qualified healthcare professionals for any medical inquiries. Please do not ignore professional advice or postpone seeking it based on the content of this presentation. The information presented is provided without any guarantee. The creators are not liable for any outcomes resulting from use of this information as a substitute for medical advice. If you have any health concerns, it is important to seek immediate medical attention. Okay, so before we dive in, I'd like to share with you why, and this is a story, and I could just read word for word, but I'd rather share with you why I am doing this. Okay. And especially talking about chronic pain and, well, during Valentine's Day, it's relationships and intimacy. A few months ago, one of our patients, she was in her 50s. She was struggling with back and knee problems. And, it was really affecting her mobility, her ability to go shopping and standing in line and doing chores at home. And as we start diving into how, because as an office, one of the things that we like to do is make sure we know exactly how it's affecting your life. Like how has it affected you, right? Most people come in, yes, because of pain, but what it comes down to is how is the pain affecting you? That's the key thing, because pain by itself can go on for years and years and years and years. But it eventually affects something in our lives that creates a need for us to do something. And as this patient started to open up, she started telling us that intimacy with her husband has not been the same because she's in pain and there's no way she can get herself into the mood of having intimacy because she was in so much pain. And behind closed doors, she started telling us how it was affecting her relationship. She was more irritated. Her husband really notices it. They couldn't go on trips. They had a trip that they had to cancel. I mean, it started being pretty, it affected her a lot. I mean, there's no doubt about that. A few months into treatment, I saw her again. And she told me, well, Dr. Tim, I mean, I asked her, I said, so how are things going now? And she says, I mean, it's 180-degree change. It's everything's flipped. I said, tell me more about it. She says, number one, her lower back and knee pain is doing so much better. I said, so how have you guys planned any trips? And she's like, yes. And then she came, I didn't even ask her about, the relationship. She came and says, but you know what's really made a big difference? I said, what's that? She said, my husband and I, the intimacy that we've been having and our relationship has gotten so much better. We're planning a trip to da 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 da. And she says, I can't wait. Whereas before they had to cancel a trip where she couldn't go. This time she couldn't wait to go. And that's was a few months ago. And that sparked a conversation throughout our whole office because we have team meetings every single morning, right? We talk about the wins that patients have. And some of you, your names who are on this call right now, your names have probably been brought up in our meetings. So this is something that is really close to our hearts. And that's why I decided, you know what? For Valentine's Day, because I try to plan these out 6 months in advance, I said, let's talk about how chronic pain affects intimacy. Okay. So let's dive in. Now, for some of you, you can put it in the chat. You can talk about what have you heard when what are some of the statements that you might have heard when your partner says, they're avoiding intimacy, right? You can type it in the chat. Is it painful? Is it fatigue? Right? Is it one thing or another? You guys can feel free to share. Right? So open forum, like so someone says, they're tired. Yeah, it's when you are suffering from chronic pain, you get tired, right? So that's one thing. I mean, we've heard from fatigue to I don't feel like it, or I'm not in the mood, or whatever it may be, and come to it, it was because they were just in so much pain, right? Yeah, you don't feel good about yourself, right? Yeah, I'm not in the mood. Yeah, because it's when you're in pain, it really throws you off mentally, right? And also, you have so much stress hormones firing. When your stress hormones firing, your regular sex hormones aren't really firing. See, so now you're not in the mood when you're in pain. Okay. So it affects everything. And then in terms it affects relationship and irritability, all of that. Right. So let's talk about that more. Right. Time of the month. Right. Yeah. I mean, pain, chronic pain. I tell patients who are doing menstruation months or years of their life, certain key things that they can do to make sure to avoid as much pain. Okay, there's tips and things that you can do. So let's dive in, right? Chronic pain. What's chronic pain? Chronic pain is pain that is defined as pain lasting more than 3 months, significantly disrupt daily work and life of many adults. Okay, that leads to the following: depression, Alzheimer's, increased risk of suicide. On top of that, there's substance abuse. In 2021, 21%, 20.9 of adults, that's 56 or 51.6 million people in the US, reported experiencing some form of chronic pain. That's 1 in 5, a figure that is consistent with 2006, which is 20.4. Furthermore, 6.9 or 17 million individuals suffer from high impact chronic pain, right? That severely limits their daily activities. So 1 in 5 people is affected with pain. But out of that, okay, 17 million of those people have high impact pain. All right. This was a study done in 2023. So almost 60 million people in the US have arthritis. At least 15 million of them experience severe joint pain because of that condition. It affects about 1 in 5 adults with arthritis. 1 in 4 adults have severe joint pain. 1 in 10 has limited activities. And in medications, each year, it's cost $303 billion in medical spendings and also lost wages. This study was done by the University of Buffalo just in 2023. Now, 50% of Americans are found with joint pain, okay? Struggles with intimacy. 50%, right? That's 1 in 2. So if 60 million are having problems with joint pain, 30 million people are struggling with joint pain that struggles also with intimacy. It's probably people you know, your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers. They're just not talking about it, right? I mean, we hear stories behind closed doors here that a lot of people probably have not shared with friends and family, maybe even with their other doctors, because a lot of people feel like their doctors aren't listening anymore. But for us, it's we need to find out why. Because if we don't find out the true why of the patient is here, you actually can't really help the patient that much because it's too surface level. So this was found out after asking 8,000 people in a specific study. Okay. Now, then you look at what are the common reasons why respondents say they did not desire intimate relationships anymore. They feel like they're a burden, okay, to their partners. They lack self confidence, right? Intimacy becomes painful, okay? And sometimes they switch roles, which means that they don't feel like they are an intimate person to their partner. They feel like their partner is now taking care of them now, like their caretaker. So that can turn into a struggle with intimacy. I mean, it's like a whole mindset, relationship, emotional shift when you have pain. So if you're dealing with chronic pain, I want to let you know that I'm going to give you multiple steps on how to overcome part of the chronic pain. All right. So let's discuss that. Okay. Let's make sure you guys are all doing these 8 things, okay, that you can start doing today. Excuse me. I like to give people action steps. See, action steps that you can do today. All right, let's start diving in. Number 1, warm baths. Why are baths good? Baths are good, massages are good when it's hot and warm because it brings heat to the area. When you bring heat to the area, you also bring blood flow to the area as well. See, most severe joint pain, it's there because of arthritis. Well, arthritis is inflammation, but on top of that, chronic arthritis, you're actually losing blood flow to the area. And that's why taking baths, especially Epsom salt baths, where you let the salt and the minerals seep into the skin, into the joint, is so beneficial. But here's a kicker. You make sure when you're taking baths, don't go for more than 20 minutes. When you're soaking in a bath, 20 minutes is the key. When you're receiving massages, it could be long, it could be 50, 80 minutes and whatnot. But when you are in a bath, 20 minutes. Why is that? That's because after 20 minutes, the reverse starts happening. Your body believes that it's too much. And then instead of adding blood flow, it shuts down and now your body takes it away. Okay. Now, having a spa day with your partner is not a bad idea as well, right? So have a spa day, enjoy it together. Okay. That's number 1. You got to get blood flow into those joints. Number 2, supplements. People ask me, oh, Dr. Tam, what supplements should I take? What supplements should I take? There's different ones. Now, glucosamine and chondroitin and collagen are some of the top ones for joint arthritis because it helps repair cartilage. You have to watch out. Those of you who also have diabetes, though, watch out for the glucosamine because part of the glucosamine is glucose aminos, right? So it's got some proteins, amino acids, but it's also got glucose into it. So that can spike sugar. So you might want to work with collagen instead. Okay. Some of the best collagen supplements is made from Designs for Health called Paleo Meal, right? We don't have that listed on here, but Paleo Meal, take a look at it. It's made from some of the best proteins, especially called hydro beef. They have a vegan version and a hydro beef version. Hydro beef is going to be the best one by far. And then second best is going to be your pea proteins as well. Now, omega fatty acids, fish oil. We've all heard of omega 3s. Fish oil reduces inflammation. Our diets, the standard American diet, right, the SAD diet, is predominantly omega 6s. Well, you say, well, how did I get so many omega 6s? Well, omega 6s are from the meats that we eat, okay? And sometimes it's even like as high as a 10 to 1 omega 3 to omega 6 ratio, or omega 6 to omega 3 ratio. So you have 10 times more omega 6s than you have omega 3s. Okay, that's because a lot of our meats, say our beef, the pork, and chicken, is fed with grain. So, you heard of that saying, you are what you eat. You're not always what you eat. You are what your animals eat. Okay, the meat that you eat eats, that's what you are. So if your cow, the beef that you get is fed grain, which is like corn or soy, those are the cheapest grains out there. That's as if you're eating corn and soy. So then you're going to have a lot of inflammation. So how do you have less? Start taking omega 3s. Okay. Now, Designs for Health has a omega 3 high potency omega 3. Has roughly a 50-50 in EPA and DHA. Also, what's the difference? How come there's EPA and DHA? EPA is mainly for inflammation of the body. DHA is for the brain. Okay. Most people need both, especially if you have chronic joint inflammation. If it's really chronic, if it's really bad, you might want a little bit more EPA versus DHA. For those of you who are thinking, wow, I need to heal my brain. My brain is like, not functioning. I keep forgetting things. You might need a little bit more DHA, all right, in your omega fatty acids. As patients, those of you who are on this call, if you are not sure, then make sure you give us a call or shoot us a text, shoot us an email, the back of your fish oil, and let us know what you're taking, okay? Turmeric and curcumin, it's very anti-inflammatory. It's great for antioxidants. Now, what's oxidation? Okay, let me describe that a little bit. Oxidation is, say, if you cut an apple and you leave it out, and it's, how it starts to turn colors, turns a little bit orange or brown. That's the cells of the apple oxidizing. The skin on the apple keeps it from oxidizing, but we eat foods that are not great for us, or our cell tends to oxidize by adding a proton to the cell, right? So you want anti-inflammatory antioxidants. That's what turmeric and curcumin is. You could eat it in tablet form, but my wife and I, we love cooking with it. So we eat it that way. Now, vitamin D is huge. It's huge for your immunobodies, your bone health. You have to have D3 and K2 in order for your body to actually absorb the right calciums. Okay. We just had a patient that told me, Dr. Tam, my calcium levels in my aorta, all right, came back way too much. It was like in the 150 to 200 range. And that means they have too much calcium deposits in their aorta. If you are taking calcium supplements and you're not taking D3 and K2 with it, well, part of the supplements, a majority of them actually, will lodge in your muscles and blood vessels instead of going into your bones. So you want to make sure you do that as well. All right, green tea extract. Green tea has been used for thousands and thousands of years to reduce inflammation. But for those of you who are also sensitive, like myself, to caffeine, you might not want to do green tea. You want to do some other tea that is just non-caffeinated, right? Hyaluronic acid helps lubricate joints, reduces pain as well. So more natural than like cortisone, right? If you really have joint pain, there's all kinds of stuff, but these are things that you can do today. Okay. So, well, what else? Posture. Why is posture and flexibility so important? That's because a majority of problems, right, that comes from relationships and intimacy is built from poor lower back problems, lower back pain, sciatica, disc problems. Okay. And that is the number one. That is the number one cause of musculoskeletal problem. But it could be neck, right? Joints, knees, hips, right? It could be shoulders, all kinds of problems. So staying flexible. There's a word that is called pliability, not just flexibility, but pliability. The word pliability was actually made, it was introduced years ago, like decades ago. But you know who recently made it really famous was Tom Brady, the football player. You know, his TB12 method always talked about pliability. Is how do you become flexible and strong at the same time, right? If you look at those guys who do bodybuilding where they're just, super buff all the time, they're not going to be very um they're not very flexible at all. So then you're like, well, how do I become strong and flexible? That's where pliability comes in. You got to make sure you roll out your muscles. You have to make sure you have less scar tissue, right? Scar tissue binds up all the musculature. So stretching is really important. That's why foam rolling your hips, your glutes, your legs, your arms, right? That's so important. That way you have the flexibility with strength. Okay. That's huge. That's huge. So make sure you guys are working on that. If you need stretches and exercises, shoot me a comment, email me, and I'll send you the link where we have our um, exercises stored. Okay. It's online. Everything's online. We got videos of everything. Okay. This is a big one, especially Valentine's Day with all the wine coming up, right? Smoking and alcohol consumption. Well, for years now, the industry of smoking has been, talked about and how bad it is, and the consumption of secondhand smoke. And we used to see commercials of secondhand smoke. I haven't seen those lately, so seems like we've got it under control. But the alcohol consumption, my gosh, it's killing people left and right. Part of it is because of the liver, right? If your liver is not functioning correctly, you can't remove the amount of inflammation in the body. So, alcohol consumption, whenever you drink alcohol and consume alcohol, you actually block your body's ability to remove inflammation during that time. So, you have to minimize your alcohol consumption. Okay. That is huge because of your liver. Now, there's another thing called sugar intoxication. Okay, sugar induced cirrhosis of the liver, where we are seeing now too much sugar consumption of carbohydrates, and sugar is doing the same thing. So, whereas before it was smoking and alcohol, now it's becoming the sugar. Too much artificial sugar cannot be consumed. Okay, it just can't. Well, Americans consume hundreds and hundreds of ounces of sugar every single year. Certain studies will say, oh, yeah, we consume about 2 gallons of sugar a year. Some will say more, depending on what you read. Okay. So, smoking, alcohol, and I'm going to throw in sugar in there. Now, meditation or diaphragmatic breathing. All right. Meditation is something that it's even new to me within the last year that I really started looking into, and it's the mindset, right? Because so much in our lives, we have our day to day phones and just kind of bling, bling, bling notifications going off left and right. For us, there are times we just have to turn our phone notifications off or into a do not disturb mode and meditate. And then also breathe with our diaphragm as well, because that really allows us to take in as much oxygen as we can. Now, how do you do this? You sit in a quiet, peaceful area, do some breath work. We're going to do some breath work in a moment, okay? You close your eyes, you listen to something that is mindful, right? Some form of meditation videos that you like. The one that I really like, let me find that channel for you actually. It's on YouTube. I save it. It's called Mindful Movement. That's what it's called. And Mindful Movement, we've been listening, my wife and I have been listening to it for at least a year now. And it's really, really helped us. Okay. So now you got to make sure you're laying down and not playing with your phone while you're meditating. This is not something that you do while you're trying to play with the computer or watch TV or whatnot. It's got to be in a calm, calm place. Now, let's do a breath work right now, something that we can do right now. We'll spend about 30 seconds doing it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to breathe in like this. And then when you get to the end, take another deep breath. Okay. So like this. That next deep breath, after you thought you took a deep breath, it opens up the small little sacs and alveoli in your lungs and allows your lungs to really expand, your diaphragm to really expand. Stick the stomach out and breathe with your diaphragm. And then breathe out in about 6 seconds and count. All right, you're going to do it with me? Here we go. Take a deep breath in. One more. You breathe in with your nose, breathe out with your mouth, 6 seconds. And I promise you, within 5 breaths, you're going to be calmer. Okay. And when your body is more calm, inflammation and stress level goes down and heart rate variability becomes normalized again. Okay. If you don't know what heart rate variability is, look that up. All right. So the next one, yoga, stretching, Pilates, right? Exercise is so, so important. Here's why. When you have too much toxins in the body, your body actually either stores it in the muscle, like for example, sugar or other toxins, or in the liver. Okay. Now, your liver, you got to keep that healthy. But let's say sugar. Sugar is very inflammatory induced, which means that causes inflammation all the time. Too much sugar in the blood causes what? Right? Let's type it in the chat. Too much sugar in the blood causes, let's see if you guys know. This should be pretty simple. What does too much sugar in the blood cause? What disease does it cause? Diabetic? There you go, diabetes. Diabetes, right? Why is it easier as we get older to get diabetes? Why do you think? Let's say you're consuming 100 grams of sugar a day when you were in your 20s. What do you think changes when we're getting older? Let's see if you guys know the answer to this one. What are we losing as we get older? What are we losing? What do we not have as much of? It's not hair. I promise you that. It's not just hair. Okay. What is it? Time. Okay. What else? What else? Strength, collagen. Okay. What does strength and collagen have to do with? What is something that starts with an M that we all have? When we flex, we show our starts with the M, muscles. Yes. As we get older, we have less muscles. And that's where our body stores energy. It stores sugar in there. So when you're in your 20s and you have more muscles and you're consuming 100 grams of sugar, versus when you're 50 or 60 and you consume the same 100 gram of sugar, but let's say you have 30% less muscle. Now your liver that isn't working as well have to process 30% more sugar. And if it cannot, the sugar ends up in the bloodstream. Inflammation, pain, arthritis. Here we go. That's why flexibility is so important, because if your muscle's tight, well, how is it going to absorb anything, right? It's tight. It's not, there's no water there. It can't absorb anything. You got to stay loose. Your muscle should be like a sponge, right? And you need to build more muscle in order for your body to put sugars and store energy in. Okay. Now you don't have to go crazy. I'm not trying to have you, try to bulk up at the gym, but yoga, stay flexible, doing Pilates, doing it with your partner, do it together. When you do it together, you will grow closer, because when we do things together, we're human beings. You ever hear where people say, hey, you end up in the same room, exercise together, you end up breathing like each other, you're rhythmic, your breath. Heck, I remember this in college when my wife stayed in the same apartment with all the other ladies, right? There's like 5 of them. All their menstruals end up being the same. Okay. Why is that? That's because when we do things together, our bodies are in sync overall. Okay. So do this with your partner, right? Now, what else? Hydrotherapy. Oh, hydrotherapy. Anything that involves water. Okay. Whether it's a hot tub hydrotherapy, you're walking on water, well, not on water, in water, right? Walking in water, it relieves joint pain because you're now more buoyant. You're able to move your muscles. Okay. Water therapy, aquatic therapy without the gravity. So it's not as much weight on your joints. Okay. Try to opt for a saltwater pool instead of a chlorinated water pool, because the chlorine water really gets into the skin and it's very toxic for the body. Okay. Our skin is the biggest organ in the body, it can absorb a lot of bad things that are in the chlorine. Whereas if it was natural saltwater pools, a lot different. Okay. You could do resistance training, buoyancy effect. It's been shown to reduce pain as well. Okay. So these are things that you can do today, right? How about laughing? Laughing with the partner. When was the last time you guys enjoyed a movie together or a comedy show together? Okay. Things that used to make you guys laugh. Laughing is actually, it's been studied, all right, releases endorphins, and endorphins help you control pain. Okay. You ever hear people who are more happy have less pain? Okay. Or people who are less pain now are more happy, right? It goes both hands. Like, well, which one comes first, Dr. Jam, chicken or the egg? Either way, laugh more, right? 2010 studies show that laughter is huge for pain reduction, you know. So do fun things with your loved one, right? Laugh at jokes, read some jokes, whatever it may be. Buy a joke book. I remember my daughter she loved these joke books, you know. Of course, they're like kids' joke books, so they're all clean, but it was still very funny. And we had a great time. So that's the end of our Valentine's Day presentation, if you will. And for all of you that are on this call, when you come into the office the next time, just let us know. Hey, I was at Dr. Tam's webinar, and you'll get a free bottle of L-arginine. You know, initially I was going to give it to just a few people, the first 3, but since all of you here are on the call, all of you that are going to come into the office will get a bottle of that. All right. So that's the end of our presentation today. I hope you learned a lot. Those of you who are here live will get PDF copy of the presentation sent to you. And those of you who enjoyed it and like to share it with your friends, it's going to be on YouTube, Facebook, probably by the end of this week. So make sure you share it with your friends. So if you enjoy what you saw, share it. If you look on our YouTube website, you'll also find the other previous webinars as well. And if you have any questions about some of the things that we talked about, make sure you talk to us the next time you're in our office. Send us an email, text, you shoot me a text right now, and hopefully we'll get to answer that as quickly as possible. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Thanks, Connie.